Hey everybody, I'm David Crisaro and it is time to be awesome. I'm here with my good friend Jason Messina, who's agreed to come on this cast and talk to us a little bit today. Hey Jay?
I did.
Now, for those of you guys who don't know who Jason is, his name's been attached to a lot of different projects within the last year or so. Most people probably know you from running Paul Harris's Astonishment Project website.
Right.
But in addition to that, you've got a lot of your own materials out there as well. Tube, which I saw a few different websites named as one of the top tricks of 2008. You also have We, and a really cool ebook called Methods Impossible, which I want to touch on each one of these real quickly. First, let's talk about Tube. You actually worked out a really cool prediction effect that relies on the prediction being revealed via YouTube. Right? And that which got a huge reaction.
Right. Yeah, it's a strong. You can basically predict anything months, even years in advance if you got the patience, and you just put the videos up to YouTube, and you give them a URL before the trick starts, and then they can name something, or they can pick something, or there's just a million different things you can do.
And going to that URL brings to YouTube, which is a video of you revealing the prediction, which has been time-stamped months ago.
Right. It actually is physically uploaded whenever it says there. You can't screw with that, and it's uploaded months ago, and it's the only video that's there on your YouTube channel. Which
in today's society, where everybody's got the iPhone and everybody's got all these applications on their phone that allows them to view YouTube videos immediately, it's perfect. I mean,
right.
What better way to incorporate technology into a magic trick than to incorporate YouTube, something everybody knows.
Sure. I mean, I have not done it yet on stage, but boy, just imagine you've got somebody holding an envelope with that URL in there, and at the end of the show, you ask everybody with their iPhones to hold them up, and you have that person
play it.
The URL, and they can all play it, and then you could even have a computer on stage. But I think it's just a lot more powerful for people to have it in their hands and go there and see. That's the only thing. So
yeah, that'd be really cool. It gets the entire audience involved and gets them really excited.
Right.
Now, in addition to Tube, one of my favorite tricks that you do is We, W-I,
right.
W-I, which, can I describe the trick? Basically, and this is the coolest part about it, is you have a piece of paper face down, and you ask somebody the way that you taught it to me and the way I actually do it, is you ask somebody to name any food, any type of restaurant. French restaurant, Italian, fast food, Chinese, I mean, literally anything. Whatever they name, when you turn over that paper, it's a phone number. When they call that phone number, they get that type of restaurant. And it's not an accomplice on the other side pretending to be. You are literally going to call a restaurant who will have no idea why you're calling.
Right.
You're going to call and say hi, and they're going to say that this is a French restaurant, and it really is, and the method is so clever.
Right, and it really is a restaurant, and it's a one-person
trick, right. No assistance necessary.
And there are some very cool, using the principle behind it, there are some other really interesting things you can do with it. There's a take on the old voodoo trick, the classic anime voodoo trick in there that is just fantastic. One of these days I want to videotape a performance of that, because it's really...
I think you should, because it really is cool. And when if you get Jason's ebooks and you learn Tube and you learn We, you start to get an idea that Jason thinks a little differently than the rest of us do. And nothing's more prominent than that, or more evident than in your ebook Methods Impossible,
right?
Which I loved, but I want to be clear, I didn't love it because I learned 10 tricks that I'm going to immediately start doing at the restaurants or start putting in my show.
Right.
It's just a different way of examining methods and presentations in magic. I mean, I'm not going to lie when I say that literally one of the tricks in Jason's ebook, Methods Impossible, the method starts, first kidnap somebody.
Right.
Which, when I read that, I said, this guy, I like the way this guy thinks.
Well, there's the whole point, and actually, the Method Impossible kind of came out of two different reasons. One was that there was a while there when I would just, when I was living in California, I would just sit by the pool every day. I'd go through old magic books.
Rough life.
And I was just so intoxicated by the idea of thinking up new ideas. And I thought that, that's what, if everybody just did that, then the whole retail magic business would crumble, because people could actually come up with their own stuff. And I thought, well, how can I really, convey this? And the only way to do that was to really get out some really, ideas that would just make people think and say, well, how can I use this? And the other thing that that kind of spawned Method Impossible was that I'm just a lousy researcher, and I'm just so paranoid that I'm going to release something that's been created, because it is extremely difficult to research thousands and thousands of books out there.
We don't all have access to Max Maven's head every day.
Right. So unless you're Max Maven sitting around reading magic books all day, it's really difficult. So part of that paranoia spurred me to do, use methods that involve midgets and kidnapping, and all sorts of different things.
But now, and I'm not going to ask you where do your ideas come from, because nobody knows where ideas come from, but how do you get your brain to stop thinking traditionally and start thinking uniquely?
Well, I think
how do you do it?
I think the simplest way to do it is to actually start off thinking traditionally, and then just keep digging. You just have to keep digging, and no idea is too. You have to include all the ideas and sort of just amass them and just brainstorm and come up with every possible idea you can, and then what happens is you switch gears and you put on the editor hat and you say, well, does this work, or can we use this? How can we use this? And just play with them. Mm-hmm. But I think that's part of the thing, is most people will stop at a certain point. And we're at a certain point where it seems, well, this is a reasonable place to stop. And, for better or worse, I enjoy going, several steps beyond that and just keep digging, how far can we push this?
Your Ultimate Airplane Vanish is probably a great example of that.
Right.
From Methods Impossible, which actually involves standing outside, pointing at a real airplane flying in the sky with somebody, and making it disappear.
Right. And every time I'd meet a magician, I would tell them I was working on this, and they just kind of, their eyes glazed over, and they would sort of look at me like I was crazy. And it took me a good 2 years thinking about that before I finally came up with something that works, and it's an amazing little thing. And it's just even if you never use it, it's not something that you can use every day, but when you do use it, you do it once, you do it twice, and then people for sure talk about it. And, even just for me, the most fun of that, the thing that really spurred me on was just trying to come up with something, just trying to, come up with a way to do the impossible. I wanted it to be impromptu. I wanted there to be a real airplane in the sky, because, boy, we tried hanging fake airplanes out of cars, and, having a laser pointer, and, we tried all sorts of different things. And so I said, this is just not, it's not going to fly. It's not going to fly. So that was a lot of literally. So that was just a lot of fun to come up with.
But what I like about it, and again, it's not the kind of thing where you're going to get Jason's ebook and it's going to say, step 1, find a plane in the sky. Step 2, here's how to make it disappear.
Right.
It's the situation's got to be right, the circumstances have to be right, and you have to sell it. You have to sell what you're going to do. It's not you can't do sponge bunnies and then make the airplane disappear.
Yeah, and it's not an opener. You don't just come out and say, I'm going to make an airplane disappear. You've got to be, you have to, prove your worth. You have to do a couple of things before this that are really strong, and then they go along, with anything. I mean, that's Airplane Vanish or not. That's been my experience, that once you start very strong, and then you can get away with a lot of stuff. So.
Now, what a lot of the viewers are going to be talking about is again, what's what you talked about, where you take it a step further, you go to that next level in the method, but then, especially in your Airplane Vanish, there's a epilogue, there's a postscript, there's something that happens after the plane vanishes. Could be an hour later, could be 10 minutes later, that you don't present. It just kind of happens in the background.
And that's what brought this into just a trick, another vanish, into the realm of, almost performance art.
Exactly.
And I had a lot of help from my buddy Paul Harris, who contributed and loved the idea, and And we sat there brainstorming, well, what? And again, Paul's a master at this.
Mm-hmm.
He's a master at, taking something and just we'll sit on the other phone for hours talking about one idea and just where can we go with this? How far can we push this? And I think that's the difference between just a standard average trick and moving it into another realm. I don't know if you want to call it art or what have you, but just really pushing the boundaries is just doing the work. I mean, there's nothing secret about it or mystical about it. It's just actually sitting there and thinking about something longer than anybody else has. Sure. And that's the beautiful part.
Now, if people want to learn more about, if they want to learn about your ebooks and things like that, we'll tell you where to go. But if you want to just get an idea as far as how Jason's thinking is sort of formulated or created, you've got a website that's not necessarily magic related. It's more about this level of thinking that we're talking about. It's called Surf the Gas.
Right, which is actually based on a quote from one of the Art of Astonishment books, surfing the edge of the big gasp, I think it is. I just really like that imagery of surfing, this gasp, which is kind of invisible. But
tell them a little more about like the type of things that are. It's not magic, but it is sort of advanced thinking, so to speak.
I don't even know if it's just I've been, for a while I felt kind of confined by being boxed into the magic arena. So I wanted to start talking about other things that interest me, one of the most popular articles is Getting High, 9 different ways to get high without drugs.
And when you say getting high, it's not
it's
getting stoned. It's not like that.
No, but there are some states that you can access that are like that, but are healthier. They're actually good for you. They boost your immune system, and they make you feel really good. And
it's a clarity level. It's clarity
you don't
thinking.
have. I mean, there are things you can do to kind of get spaced out and dreamy, and but there are, for the most part, they actually, instead of whereas when you're high on pot, that kind of tends to diminish it diminishes your awareness. These methods kind of boost your awareness so that your mind is a lot clearer, your body is a lot healthier and looser, and they're basically just ways to kind of stretch your mind out, and then eventually it goes back to normal, but it's just a little bit bigger. You've expanded just a little bit more,
which very well might lead to how you're creating some of these different methods and things like that. Is this level of expanding your mind past the little box that we've all sort of locked our brains in.
We all put them in. I'm in a box. We're all in boxes. It's all boxed in. Based on what we believe and what we think is possible. And there's a million different examples of this. As soon as somebody broke the 4-minute mark in the mile, then everybody did. Not everybody, but then it became much more common.
Something that was achievable.
Right, but. Before that, people didn't think it was, physically possible, and then somebody does that, and it kind of stretches in that case, it stretches the collective conscious, sort of. It becomes, it doesn't just stretch one person's mind, it stretches everybody's, and then it becomes part of, kind of our culture and our, sort of, we all have kind of, as human beings, we have, I don't want to say collective in some sort of, mystical term that there's this stuff out there, but it becomes part of the culture, and we grow up knowing these things.
Well, that's definitely true, because take a look at example of like any card at any number. There were some methods on how to do any card at any number for a very long time, but then all of a sudden somebody like John Bourne or somebody else creates a completely different angle on it, and the floodgates open. Now all of a sudden there's new ideas coming in every direction. That's kind of what you're talking about. Is once you break the 4-minute mile, now everybody, all of a sudden, it becomes achievable. People try for it, and people achieve it.
Right, and basically that's kind of how I viewed all of the, while I was sitting by the pool reading these books on magic. That's how I kind of viewed the, that it was, basically a book is a snapshot in time of that person's thoughts, and it's very static. It's, it's just not moving. And what excites me is to create something that sort of entices the reader to turn that staticness into something dynamic and almost brings life to it themselves. They're almost forced to.
Yeah.
So that's what makes me happy, and that's what I've been trying to explore different ways to kind of entice people to get to those states, because I think the more people are thinking outside of their boundaries. And one of the greatest pieces of advice I got was from a book on writing comic books by Alan Moore, and he quotes this like creativity deck that he used to go through when he was stuck on something. And one of the I've actually written about this in a couple of articles, but one of the quotes was, "What wouldn't you do?" And that just was like the greatest thing in the world. Applied to magic, if all you do is card magic, learn to do a kids show. If all you do is, if you're the funny joking guy, just try to do, a serious mentalism act. If you're, if all you do is sleight of hand, do something that's self-working. If you never use gimmicks, use gimmicks. Make yourself uncomfortable. That's how you stretch yourself out like that. That's how you, stretch things out. That's how you push things farther, is by making yourself uncomfortable. If you're only comfortable, if you're only doing something that that works all the time, you're never actually going to grow or evolve. I mean, you may, but it's just going to take a very long time. To speed up that process, to speed up that evolution of yourself, make yourself uncomfortable. Do things that you wouldn't normally do. That usually indicates that there's a blockage there.
Right.
And one of the greatest, I think, it might have been Stanislavski said, the great teacher of acting.
He's the guy who owned Marmaduke, wasn't he? No? All right, whatever.
I have no idea what that means.
I'm sorry.
But
the Marmaduke, the dog from the... You're smarter than me. Keep talking.
Stanislavski, I think, I could be wrong, but I think either him or some other really guy much more famous and smarter than myself said, if you want to be a good actor, you need to work on yourself. And I think that, applies to magic, it applies to everything, but more so magic, because you get a magic trick, and you almost assume that by knowing how to do, a magic trick, you can go out there and, all of a sudden you'll be charismatic, but you won't. You really have to work on yourself, and the magic is just kind of a tool, kind of a platform to let yourself shine. So that's
a good point. I mean, it's that kind of thinking that I think spawned things like Tube and We and Methods Impossible. And if you guys want to check out some of Jason's stuff, if you want to just think about read some of his writings and the mental capacity, the surf the gasp type stuff, you can go check it out, surfthegasp.com, and we'll put it up on the screen right now so you guys can check on that. And then from there, they can get information on We and Tube and Methods Impossible, right?
It's sort of hidden because everybody gets very upset when the.
So how do they find that from Surf the Gasp?
If you want to see the books that are currently available, you can go to surfthegasp.com/mstuff.
M-Stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll put both up there. Surfthegasp.com and surfthegasp.com/mstuff.
Right.
Thanks for coming on, Jason. Hope you guys got something out of this. Definitely check out Jason's stuff. I appreciate it very much. Now, I'm David Crisao. That's Jason Messina. Now, go be above average. Go be above average. Okay. Go be awesome. Take care. Does it be funny when you It's not awesome. It's above average. Come on, now it's funny.